Okay, welcome to my live. It's one of my unscheduled ones. So, okay, bit chilly. Use my hair to warm my shoulders up. Okay, so let me see now. Okay, I'm here at a weird time. I'm not usually on at this time. So it might be after dinner. You're probably getting your little ones ready for bed, maybe, if you're on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast, so. But it's the only time I have that I can do it today. So anyway. Okay. While we're waiting, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. And it's actually a really nice day. It's supposed to be, was supposed to rain today, and but now it's sunny. So I'm going to be out on my bike later on. Usually in Vancouver, when it says it's going to rain, it rains. It rains here a lot. We live in a rainforest. So literally, Vancouver is a rainforest, and people complain about the rain. You live in a rainforest. It strikes me as funny. Anyway. Okay, so I'm just waiting for people to turn up. Where are you from while we're waiting? Love to know. Where are you from? You know, I didn't have my Facebook for a whole week there, so I couldn't do lives. Iowa. Hi, Iowa. Aaron Gustus. I think you've been here before, haven't you? I remember that last name, Gustus. Looks familiar anyway. Yeah, so Facebook has actually let me back in. Come on, Facebook. Oh, okay. Facebook only let me in on my phone. It hasn't let me in on my computer. I don't know what's going on here. Anyway. Okay, so let's get going now. Kansas. Hi, Kansas. SC. Is that South Carolina? It threw me off because it's little c. And South Carolina would be S, big C. I'm assuming it's South Carolina. Okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you look on the link above, you'll see, yeah, South Carolina. If you look in the link above, you'll see my free behavior board. Hi, Australia. That's where my kids were born and raised. You'll see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I have a wait list for coaching, but anyway, and the behavior board is completely free. And that starts at the age of 3. I get a lot of questions about why I don't have a course on toddlers. I've got 4 mini courses on toddlers. I do plan on setting something up. The thing is that I teach leadership parenting, and I want to get you the best results. The worst results are probably with toddlers. So you're sort of building a base for the future with toddlers. They're not going to learn right away. The way you discipline a toddler is consistent corrective actions. They learn through repetition, but they're not going to learn right away. Okay, they're just forming. They're brand new, fresh human beings. Okay, so I'm just going to read North Carolina. Hi, North Carolina. I like that. North Carolina, South Carolina. I can't stand West Virginia. Virginia drives me nuts. It should be West Virginia, East Virginia. Alexa, stop. But yeah, it's fun. I don't know why anyway. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. You go to West, you should have an East. North, you go to South. Anyway. Okay. So Allison asked me, 3-year-old gets mad and cries, whines over minor things. Like if I sing along to a song or his favorite show, how do you address that? The reason he's doing that is he's trying to control you. It's like this. I don't like that. I don't like that. It's a control thing. It means he doesn't respect you, but you can switch that around. You work on your leadership skills and he won't do that anymore. Yeah, he's just trying to control you. 3 years old is when there's a fork in the road. If you've been a leader when they're toddlers, they're not going to clue into a lot of stuff right away, but they are starting to catch on that when you say something, it's going to happen. So by the time they hit 3, they have the ability to stop and think before they act. So if you've been a leader with a toddler, by the time they hit 3, they get super easy. If you haven't been a leader and you've been catering to them and allowing them to talk to you like that when they whine and cry, why? What do you want? See, I would never talk like that. What do you want? In other words, you know what I mean? Like you're controlled. You don't be reactive. You want to be proactive with kids. But yeah, they go the other way. They get difficult because they stop and realize and they think, you know, at 3 years old, wait a minute, you don't know what you're doing. I think I'm going to take over. That's what happens. Or else you might just have a really easy kid who was never going to be hard anyway. Most kids will challenge you though. Aaron asks, 3-year-old is very fearful, won't do anything alone, even going to the bathroom. She has to take someone along with her. I would challenge that. Why is she so afraid? Is it a control thing? I would assume it's a control thing, but potentially not. Might be something else. I don't know. I'd have to assess that situation and figure out when it started. Will she go and do something fun alone? So if they'll go off and do something really fun, hey, I got a real brand new toy for you in the other room. If they run in there and play with it, then you're like, aha, I gotcha. So yeah, I would kind of test that one out. So yeah, is it just, will they go and do something alone if it's something they really want? Okay. Yeah, Allison, that does make sense. It's just a control thing. It's like, hey, if I don't like it when you sing. I had a friend years ago, and her kids used to say stuff like that all the time. No, I don't like it when you do that. I don't. And so the mother, oh, I'm sorry. Okay. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. My kids had said anything like that, I would have gone, excuse me? Hello? Oh my God. It was so funny. She couldn't figure out why they were a handful. But anyway, none of my business. Okay, I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. If you're new here, you haven't heard this before, sorry, I'm repeating myself if you've heard it a million times. This is my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1 is you child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is you set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, when you want to connect with a toddler, this is under the age of 3, if you want to connect with them, you play in their world. You don't go to the nail salon with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. They start to look at you differently if you enter their world. Number 4 is kind of similar. You enter their world when you want to discipline them. None of these mini therapy sessions discussing all their big feelings and big emotions. That's absolute crap. It's just ridiculous. A 2-year-old does not need a therapy session. They're about consistent corrective actions. They're all about actions, not words. Okay. So all these mini therapy sessions, I know they're trendy. It's part of the pleaser parent movement, which thank God I see is going out of style finally, because it didn't work, right? I've been watching that for 40 years. That came on with the participation awards. Stupidest thing. Anyway. Yeah, you just turn up and get an award. That's all you have to do. Anyway, so, and then number 5 is stop trying to figure toddlers out. They're not figure outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed in here. I always say that they're crazy, but it's just that they haven't developed sanity yet. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years, and for one of those years you were a potato laying on a mattress. They're just forming. They're brand new. How do I stop my children 4 and 2 from fighting over toys? That's a really tricky one because I don't know how your house is set up. One thing I would do is get a toy rotation system going. And 4 and 2 is a very big age gap at that age. Okay, not when they're, 8 and 6, but when they're 4 and 2, the toddler is, it's not there yet, right? So I would say to the 4-year-old, if you don't want to share that toy, it is your toy. Make sure I think a 4-year-old deserves to have their own stuff too. So you can go in your room and play with it, okay? But if it's something that they have to share, then you can just keep shutting it down until they get along. But you would probably join in and play with them for a little while first. My head's going to explode. I got too many ideas with that. It's too hard I don't know how your home is set up. It's one of those. I need to assess what kind of parent you are for one thing, how to tell you how to move forward. Like with me, if kids were fighting over something, I'd say, here it goes, it's gone. And then the next time, then they would play with it because they knew mom means business. But if you're not there yet, it's not going to work. So, okay. Oh gosh, you're going to hate me. This is D Silva on YouTube. Would you tell 8-year-old that he's been diagnosed ADHD, or would you just treat him as normal? ADHD is normal. ADHD is not a disability. Okay. It's a condition, and it just means he's hyper. Maybe he has problems focusing, but it's truly not a disability. It's so common. And continue giving him medication to help him focus. I can't discuss medication because I'm not a doctor. And even if I was, I wouldn't diagnose that over here. But anyway, I never treat ADHD like a disability ever. And I don't think anyone's ever called it one. So yeah, treat him like he's normal because he is normal. Okay. Most of the kids I worked with were ADHD. And the funny thing is they would introduce themselves that way. They would literally, just a sec. I had an alarm and I hope I didn't lose you there. It might have disconnected for a second. Anyway, so yeah, oh, sugar. Am I still here? Because I had an alarm. I'm just going to check to make sure it's off. And if you could let me know if I'm... Sorry, could you just let me know if you can hear me? Because I had an alarm that disrupted this. Okay, I'm just going to wait. Can you let me know if you can hear me? So yes or no? I know I'm on YouTube. It's Facebook that I'm having problems with. Can you hear me or not? Because I had an alarm that interrupted the live, and it looks like I might have to finish it and start again. But can you hear me? I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait and see here. Yep. I'm going to have to do it again. Darn it. Okay. Can you hear me on Facebook? Because my alarm shut me down on Facebook for some reason. It doesn't usually do that. Can you, sorry, I keep asking, but can you hear me on Facebook? Because it seems to have shut me down for a second there. So can you just confirm that you can hear me? You're back. Okay, thanks. What was I talking about? Oh, ADHD. Anyway, most of the kids I worked with had ADHD, and they introduced themselves that way. They'd say, "Hi, I'm Brian. I have ADHD." I always kind of thought that was sad. I always said the same thing. I don't care. Or else I would say, oh, I can never remember what I called myself. Hi, my name's Lisa, and I'm, what did I call myself? Foxy Lady or something, like FL. I'm Lisa, I'm FL, Foxy Lady, or something like that. I don't know. But I always kind of made fun of, tried to make light of it, because I never really wanted them to be identified as ADHD. So, and it never made any difference to me. I never treated them any differently, because you don't have to. Autism's different. Depends where the spectrum they are. Autism's different. That's more of a disability, depending on where they are on the spectrum. But ADHD isn't. It's just different. I've worked with a lot of disabled children. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a doctor. I don't think ADHD is called a disability at all. I've never seen it that way at all. But I've worked with a lot of disabled children, and that's different. Okay. Don't label yourself or your children. Yeah, you can do whatever you want with yourself, but yeah, don't label your children. Like my son was labeled gifted when he was little. I fought that. I kept him mainstreamed, and because I never saw it as a benefit, I saw it, if anything, the other way around. And it's something that sets them apart from others. And I remember in high school, they segregated him with in a tiny little class with all the other gifted children. I fought that, but I lost anyway. So yeah, I never saw it as a benefit, just because his mind works differently in some ways. Yeah, I didn't want him segregated, and I really sort of saw it more of a negative. Okay. Okay, I'm going to read. What do I want to talk about here? Just a sec. This one, I've brought this up a few times before, and I wrote it down like this. Don't leverage the good times to talk about the bad times. I'll tell you what I mean by that. A lot of parents have a hard time connecting with their teenagers, tweens, or even younger children. And as soon as they learn how to stop lecturing and stop repeating themselves and be a leader, then the kids or teenagers will start to open up to them. And then a big mistake that a lot of my clients make is they use that opportunity to start talking about all the heavy stuff and the serious stuff and what's been bothering them. Huge mistake. Huge. Do not leverage those good times to talk about the bad times. If you need to talk about something or get something off your chest with your kid or your teenager, don't leverage it. Don't do that when you're actually bonding with them and connecting with them. But I don't know why so many parents do that. So you're not getting along with your teenager. You hire me, and then I help you connect with your teenager. And then I say, Whatever you do, do not sit down, play video games with them, and you're connecting and laughing. All of a sudden you say, you've really hurt my feelings over the last couple of years. It's jeez. Most of them don't, but the odd one will. They said, I just couldn't, I had to get it off my chest. And I always say, how did that go for you? Yeah, they haven't talked to me since. And I'm like, yeah. So yeah, don't leverage the good times to talk about the bad times. Big mistake. Why would they talk to you after that? Okay, another thing with toddlers, and this one comes up a lot, and I'm always fascinated by this. They say toddlers tantrum and get upset and they act out and they're difficult because they don't feel like they're understood. You ever heard that before? It's ridiculous. They could care less if you understand anything they're saying, so long as they get what they want, when they want, and how they want it. Loss of emotional control, a tantrum, a fit, a scene, or a meltdown is just a loss of emotional control at not getting their own way. They could give a hoot if you understand what they're saying. They don't care as long as they get what they want. Okay. That's why that also feeds into that mini therapy session, discussing all their big feelings, their big emotions, validating all their thoughts and feelings and everything with the toddler. It's just garbage. It's absolute garbage. Doesn't make any sense at all to me. I know toddlers. I get them. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. Yeah, it feeds into all that. And also this thing where you get down on their level and you say, use your words. How freaking patronizing is that? Use your words. Could you imagine having an argument with your partner and they say, use your words, like in other words, be more like me. It's so patronizing. There's a whole bunch of stuff out there like that. And I'm like, who invented this? And people are listening to it. I don't think they're doing that as much now, though. I think people are cluing into this. My daughter 4 is going through a phase where she won't listen. It's a fight all the time. What can I do? That's a tell. It means she has no respect for you. So you work on your leadership skills. Remember, we're not fixing kids. They're reflecting your parenting. That's all this is. They're just following your lead or lack of it. Work on your leadership skills and that will not happen. She will respect you. Check out my boot camp course. Or you can look at my free behavior board, which is used in the boot camp's just the next level up. Anyway, so yeah, check out the boot camp course. It might be a good fit for you. You got to earn that respect. You got to work for it. But yeah, it just says she doesn't respect you. That's all. You can fix yourself. We're never fixing kids here. There's nothing wrong with them. Their behavior between the ages of 3 and 12 years old is a direct reflection of your parenting. That's all. If they're acting out, you think, what am I doing wrong here? What am I missing? What do I need to work on? That's a leader. That's a parent. They always think, what am I missing here? When I was working with kids, toddlers, troubled teenagers, if they ever acted out under my care, I always thought, what am I missing here? What am I doing wrong? I never blamed them. Was it always my fault? No. I can't fight abusive parents and that. I mean, these kids are a reflection of parenting too. But it's the way I approach it. I always think, I'm the leader here. What should I be doing differently? How should I be dealing with this situation? I never tried to change them. I tried to figure out what I was missing. Does that make sense? I wasn't even their parents, right? So it's amazing to me that parents are very quick to criticize and blame their kids, but not themselves. It's interesting. Who do you love more, your kids or you? Why would you blame them for their behavior? Why not blame yourselves? Why not? Why not take responsibility? That's what a leader does. They take responsibility for children. Children are just your victims, basically. Okay. Do you have any parenting tips for kids under the age of 3? I have a 17-month-old. Yeah. I got 4 courses on toddlers and a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of videos and all that. So my courses, one is bedtime battles, one is tantrum busting, one is potty training, and one is hitting and biting. So you can check that out. Basically, though, they are consistent corrective action whenever you want to discipline a toddler. Consistent corrective actions. So let's say they have a toy and they hit with it. You take that toy away. It's got to be fast, though. It's got to be right in the moment. They have to connect the two. They have to connect the consistent corrective action with the behavior that they just did. And they won't learn the 20th time. It might take 50 or 100 times because they learn through repetition. They're not quick learners when they're little. It's not a lack of understanding what's going on. It's a lack of impulse control. That's the difference. So toddlers do understand what's going on. They do usually know right from wrong. They just choose not to do it. They don't stop and think before they act. Most of their stuff is just habitual. Yeah. What's I going to say about that? What else? Yeah, I do coach a lot of parents with toddlers, but it's different. We don't use a behavior board. A lot of it's just building the base for the future. You're building your leadership skills now for the future, so that by the time they hit 3, you're kind of on easy street. That's the fork in the road. If you've been a leader for the first 3 years and then they turn 3, they get easy because they pick up on the fact. Like my kids knew when I said something was going to happen, it happened. I'm changing your diaper now. They didn't fight me. They were more likely to fight their dad, who was more the pleaser. That's usually the way it is. Nothing wrong with that, as long as you're both on the same page. So yeah, they understood that when mom said something was going to happen, it was going to happen. So by the time they hit 3, they were a piece of cake, easy, right? But up until then, it's impulse control is their problem. Toddlers just don't have the ability to stop and think before they act. And when they do learn, it's more of a knee-jerk reaction. It's like they'll touch a hot stove 10 times, but maybe not the 11th. But they don't really think it through. It's just more that knee-jerk reaction kind of thing. So that's why you need to have actions, and it's consistent corrective actions. Repetition with toddlers. Also, play is their love language. Play with them a lot. And the way you play with a toddler, you watch them play and then you join in. You mimic them. That's how you enter the play. You can change things once you're in there, but they just look at you differently when you play in their world. So you want to connect with them. Find your inner toddler. And some parents say to me, yeah, but I don't enjoy that. And I say, so what's your point? Do it anyway. Just do it anyway. And you'll see a difference. I have no tact whatsoever. Sometimes I crack myself up. I think, geez, Lisa. Oh, God. My daughter works for me, or not for me. She works with me, actually. She's a partner in my business, and she does all the marketing and all that lovely wording that you see. That's not me at all. That's my daughter. We are polar opposites with stuff. I just say it like it is. I'm right up there. She always thinks before she speaks or writes, whereas I don't have that ability. There's no connection between my brain and my mouth. But yeah, often she watches. I think she's used to it now, but she used to when she was first working with me, she would do my videos and she kept sending them to me. Is this okay? You said this, you said that. And I said, if I've already said it, I think it's okay. But anyway, yeah, I don't have any tact. What I say is just on my mind. Okay. What about pretty high-strung, strong-willed kids? It's all the same. I don't think my 3-year-old is on the spectrum, but haven't got her tested. Maybe ADHD, her father has it. Yeah, just all the same stuff. Those are all the kids I worked with. No one ever said to me, here, Lisa, here's an easy one. They all said, good luck with this one. So I always work with the challenging, high-strung, high-spirited, defiant, violent teenagers. Those are all the kids I worked with. I learned all this through them. I teach respect, how to give respect to get it. And oh shoot, I gotta go. I gotta move over to Instagram now because I haven't got much time. I want to get all 3 in. I do Facebook, then Instagram, then TikTok. So you can hop over there if you want. It's Bratbusters Parenting. So I'm going to Instagram now. And check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I have a wait list for that these days because I'm pretty busy. Anyway, happy parenting. We'll talk soon. And I'm on YouTube the whole time. YouTube is where I save all of my lives. Okay. I've got like 12,000 followers on YouTube now, which is pretty good, evidently. I mean, my big platforms are my TikTok's my biggest, then Instagram, then Facebook. But yeah, so yeah, YouTube's picking up. It's a search engine. It's not social media. So it's a bit of a different beast. Okay, so I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. Let me see, we got 105. I wait till I get about 150 on here. Okay. Okay, 130, that's good enough. Okay, so let's get going. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you look at the link above, you'll see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, and you can look into coaching with me. I have a wait list because I'm really busy these days, but anyway, you can look into it and I might take you on. It just depends. I like to mix up the ages, so I never know who I'm going to take on or when. Just depends on when I'm finished. And also, I don't always finish with someone. Like a lot of times we just bank sessions. If someone's doing really well, I say, let's just stop here and catch up in a month, right? So then I can take someone else on. Someone asked me how many clients I have at any given time. I have no idea because so many of them have banked their sessions. So even though they're live, they're still in coaching. Like let's say we've dealt with everything they wanted to deal with. So they're just going to call me a year from now or a month from now, whatever. So I have no idea. I think quite a few. How can I get my toddler to stop calling me by my first name? Just ignore it. And when they call you mom or dad or whoever it is, then answer. They'll learn. How to be a leader to a 20-month-old. You're not really leading at that point, but you say what you mean and you mean what you say. So you follow through with everything you say. We're going to go to bed now. Get them in bed. Okay, we're going out the door now. Get them ready. Get them out the door. Okay, dinner time. Get them at the dinner table. You see what I mean? You follow through and that they start to learn. Also, you play with them a lot because play is their love language. That's how you connect with them. So, okay, and I'm just going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, when you want to connect with a toddler, you don't do so at the nail salon. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. You connect in their world. They just look at you differently. And number 4, it's kind of similar. When you want to discipline a toddler, you do so in their world, not this conversation, this discussing all their big feelings and big emotions. That's absolute crap. They're about actions. They're not listening to you, they're watching you. So you use consistent corrective actions and they only learn through repetition. They're not really giving it a lot of thought. It's more of a knee-jerk reaction. They're not going to learn the first 20 times. It might take 50 or even 100 times of correcting them, but they will eventually learn. It's more of a knee-jerk. It's like they'll touch a hot stove 10 times, but they might not the 11th. Are they really thinking it through? No, it's more of a knee-jerk reaction. Okay, and number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. They might even go like this and smear poop on the wall. Can you figure that one out? I can't, but yeah, they might even do that. How's my grandbaby? Yeah, I saw her the other day. Okay, I'm not going to gush. I find it really annoying when people do that, but yeah, she's adorable. You look like that Australian holistic doctor. I don't know who that is, but I'm Australian, but I don't know who that would be. Do you accept insurance? No, I have no degrees, no qualifications, no license. Thank God. I would be under that umbrella. I thought I was going to be a child psychologist and they kicked me out after a week because I asked too many questions. This was about 44 years ago. And it was so patronizing, the way they were talking about children. It was patronizing. I hated it. Thank God I never did that route. So sorry. It's not to say that, I mean, now they've fixed it. I'm sure they're a lot better now, but it was just a disaster. It was so patronizing. I couldn't believe it. You're always trying to outsmart children and the way they were talking to them and use your words and all that garbage, that patronizing garbage. I'm sure they fixed it up. That was 40 plus years ago. When should children have impulse control? Okay, at the age of 3, they have the ability to stop and think before they act. Some children are just naturally very cautious and don't tend to get into trouble anyway. I would say both my kids were more that way. They were never active kids, so they were kind of easier, but I never worked with kids like my kids. So, I learned all this with other kids that were more impulsive and were more, more like that. But yeah, about the age of 3, they can stop and think before they act. It doesn't mean they will. It means they have the ability to learn to stop and think before they act. And that's your job to sort of, train them in on this. So check out the behavior board. That's what that's all about. It teaches accountability. So they'll understand that I always said to my kids, if your good life is good, if your bad life ain't so good, I'll make sure of that because I'm your mom and that's my job. Like in other words, I'm going to make sure there's a consequence if you make a bad choice. I never told them what to do. I never said, don't you do that. I would never talk like that. I would wait. I'd let them do it. And then I'd say, okay, you shouldn't have done that. Here's the consequence. That's how I taught them to be accountable and self-disciplining. I taught them it's all up to them. It's, my son hated this. I always said, it's your choice. Well, I might do that anyway, Mom. I'd say, well, it's your choice. And I'd get that smirk and he'd go, oh, never mind. Because he knew Mom would have a consequence, right? How to stop a 14-month-old from biting. They're going to go through stages, by the way. They might be teething, get them something else to bite on. But you've got to stop the first bite. You say no, and then you remove them, remove yourself, whatever. But then you prevent the ones that are going to happen, because they tend to happen like rapid fire. When they bite once, they'll often keep biting. And watch your reaction. Don't overreact. I remember once my son bit me when he was feeding, and I just screamed like it hurt like crazy. Scared the heck out of him. But I wasn't yelling at him. I just screamed because it hurt so much. But yeah, that's not the thing to do. Scared the bejeebies out of both of us. What to do when almost 3-year-old is kind of mean to grandparents, says no to hugs and kisses, doesn't want them to sit by her. Oh, just say ignore the crazy one. So just ignore them. They do stuff for attention, and don't give it any attention. Attention with behavior like that is feeding it. You're actually fertilizing it. So give it no attention. Say, oh, they don't want to kiss you. Never mind. Let's go over there. So yeah, I'm guessing if it happens a lot, it's because you're feeding it. But don't you want to kiss it? Don't do that. How many hours of sleep should a 10-year-old get per night? Nobody knows how much sleep anyone should get. Okay, they're just guessing. They're just guessing. I'm listening to this guy. Is his name Daniel Huberman, or it's not Huberman, the guy that's so popular. Lieberman or something. He's some doctor, and he specializes in physical activity, and he talks a lot about sleep. He says we're kind of just guessing. And he's this expert on it. So yeah, we don't really know. And also think about it. We all go through different periods in our life where we have more energy, less energy. We're growing. We're not, we're fighting something, flu or something. So, it's not consistent. One thing I do know, and I'm very regulated with this with myself, is I do know that getting up at the same time, like a regular routine, is good. I think that's more important than getting tons of sleep, because they say that you can't bank sleep. Like you can't not get sleep one night and make up for it the next night. So it's kind of important to have a regular sleep cycle. I'm pretty good at that. I'm up at 5. I'm usually in bed. I'm usually asleep by 10. But yeah, so just have a structure. Okay. How to keep a 4-year-old from getting out of bed. Check out my Bedtime Battles course. It's on my link above, and it goes from 2 to 8 years old, and it's in 2 parts. How to get them in bed, that's the easy part. How to keep them there, that's the hard part. It's usually one night of hell, but it usually works. It's one of my most successful things that I discuss in coaching. Is one of the hardest is mealtime routine. It's one of the hardest. Aside from the big stuff with teenagers and that, but school morning routine is pretty easy. Bedtime routine's easy. I mean, they're difficult. The bedtime routine is the hardest one to do, but it's the quickest results. It's usually one night of hell, maybe 2 or 3 it might leak into, but the worse that first night is, the less likely they are to get up again. But yeah, so check that out. How to stop a 3-year-old from running away whenever we're out. Get a leash. Put a harness on them before you go out. As soon as they start to run, clip them in and say, you do not run away. It's dangerous. And that's it. And keep them clipped in for the rest of that outing. And if you really have to go somewhere and you're going to be embarrassed doing that, do some pretend runs, places that you don't really have to go to, and then clip them in. And they'll learn eventually. But you got to be consistent. It's the lack of consistency on parents, or your fear of them having a fit, scene, tantrum, or meltdown. That's the gold. That's the lesson. There's no lesson without that sometimes. Like, they have to learn. If they are used to getting away with something and you come in hard with something like clipping them in, they're going to have a fit. That's important. That's them processing they're no longer in charge. So a lot of parents are shying away from that. And you're never going to be a leader if you're afraid of them. And yeah, I relish in that. Like I always talk about this one kid. He was 8 years old and I'd never worked with him before, so he didn't know me. And I just sat down with him and he says to me, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And he said it with that filthy look on his face. And I said to him, bring it on. And he never did. It's like, oh, she's not afraid of me. No way. I was hoping you would have a fit, scene, tantrum, or meltdown. That's my superpower, is how to deal with that. Right? Like, good luck with that, kid. Don't you threaten me. But yeah, you've got to embrace those. Those are all that's your opportunity to exercise your leadership. They have you by the knackers if you're afraid of that. If you're afraid of their reaction, they have you. Anyway, I got to move over to TikTok now because I've got to go out soon. And so I want to get TikTok in before I go. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. And I'm Bratbusters Parenting on TikTok also. I'm on YouTube the whole time. Check out my link above for my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, and coaching. Neighbor's dog.
It's not.
Neighbor's dog. They're trying to train them not to go crazy in the hallway, so they keep them in the hallway. Okay, I'm just waiting for TikTok. Allison Hill. Oh, 3 years old. I had to go back and see the age. So Allison Hill on YouTube asks of her 3-year-old, if I tell my son, ask for what you need, and he continues to throw a fit, is it, if, okay. Ask for what you need. Is he already having a fit? If you're giving him any attention during a fit, you're feeding it. It's never going to work. I completely ignore tantrums. So I'm just standing there filing my nails or something. You never leave them. You're right there. It's important that you look like you're waiting for a bus. It's important that they know you know they're doing the tantrum, but this is how you're reacting. You're just waiting. You're looking at the trees. You don't go on your phone, though. That's dismissive. And as soon as they're done, you say, okay, do you want to play a game or something? You ignore the crazy and reward the calm. It's the only way to move forward. You might want to check out my tantrum course. It's in the description on YouTube, or it's in the link above here in TikTok. And it's called, what did I call that one? I always forget the name of my courses. Oh, okay. Toddler tantrum busting. Sorry, my daughter, she works with me and she's made some changes in here. She'll be joining me full time in a couple of weeks. I'm very excited. I never pressured her. She did it willingly. Someone said to me the other day, they said, oh, were you asking her to keep joining you? I never said a word. I left it up to her. So, okay, money management. I did what I called Mom's Bank with my kids. I have lots of videos on this, but here's how it goes. I started my kids on an allowance at 3 years old. They never had to earn that. It was just something that they just, I believe every child deserves to learn how to manage money. This is how I did it. I never pay for chores. You live here, you contribute, and you clean up after yourself. That's the way I feel about chores. I would only pay for, like, if they're detailing my car or mowing the lawn, I would pay for that extra stuff. Anyway, this is what I did with their allowance. Every Saturday morning, I'd say, okay, kids, we're going to be doing your allowance. They didn't get it unless they came running, right? And only I could write in this book. And I had 2 kids, so I had a big book. And it was one in the front and one in the back. When they met in the middle, I started a new book. And it was a 3-column ledger. I had date description and debit credit balance. And what I did was I give them allowance, like I think it was half their age or their ages every week. I can't remember what it was. So long ago now. So what I did was I'd say, okay, so here's your allowance. And then when you get to $100, I'm going to give you 10% interest. That's a $10 extra. When you get to $1,000, you're going to get $100 interest. They got 10% interest on every 100. Then when they got to 1,100, it went back to 10% on each 100. So when they got to 1,200, they got $20, not 200, not 120, 220. Anyway, because then you just keep writing, it would never end, right? Anyway, so yeah, and also I only gave interest on the same amount once. So if they did choose to spend some money, but I had a say in how they were spending their money. There's no way you let little kids decide to go out. You don't give them cash and they go out and buy lollies or sweets or anything. Sorry, I raised my kids in Australia. Candy, it's called candy here. Sorry. All my little kid terms are Australian because that's where I raised my kids. Anyway, so yes, lollies over there. So yeah, I just didn't let them decide what to buy, but it was discussed if they really wanted to buy something. Basically, the big stuff, I said, no, wait for your birthday or Christmas. Anyway, they got really good at saving, and I did a whole bunch of different things with this allowance, and I never used it as discipline. The only time I ever took money out for something that they did wrong was when we first moved back to Canada. My son was 15 years old, and I explained to him, in Australia, those toilets over there could suck down a mattress and not get clogged. I mean, they are violent. They're like public toilets. They're really violent. Whereas here in Canada, North America, they're like, bloop, 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 bloop. And I was trying to explain to him, So sure enough, he clogs up the toilet. So, and we were laughing at it. And I said, fine, you're going to buy all the plumbing stuff that we need to purchase to unclog that toilet. But anyway, so that was the only time I ever took money out, and he had no problem with that. So, anyway, what a toilet story. Anyway, most of my stories seem to be around bodily functions. I don't know why. Anyway, so yeah, that's how I did allowance. I think yesterday I told the story about when he was 8 years old and what were those cards called, where they were collecting all those cards. I wanted to say Pac-Man. That's completely wrong. You know those cards that all the kids were collecting? Anyway, you would know what it is. But anyway, so yeah, I don't feel like telling that story again right now. I'll tell it again later. So I did use this for some lessons in life. Then I paid them out at 15-year Pokemon cards. Thank you. I paid them out at 15 years old, and then they went to a bank, and then reality kicked in. Banks were not paying 10% interest on every $100, right? So anyway, so yeah. Worked out really well. And it's another leadership skill. And they always come running. Even when they're teenagers, they don't get allowance unless they come, when I say I'm doing allowance now. And I only did it when they were available. But then they just came. And then it's also an opportunity to chat about stuff. We chat about money, the value of saving. And if you really want something, you can get it because you're a good saver. So you could actually buy something with this. Anyway. Thank you so much for your videos. They're so helpful. Excellent. My daughter does all my videos. She works with me, so she does all my videos, and she's brilliant at it. I could never do that. I did grow my own TikTok channel, and then she came on board last September and said, Mom, you should be on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll set up some systems for you. Well, business took off after she got involved. So now she's going to be working with me full time soon. So in a couple of weeks. So yeah, I was doing well. But then she came on board and changed everything. And yeah, she's very good at all that stuff. So yeah, she's the one who edits all my videos and decides what goes out there. I have no idea what she does. I have no idea. Someone asked me, they said, well, what if your daughter does something in your business you don't like? It'd be more likely to be the other way around. So, she's the planner, the marketer, and all that stuff. I keep asking her, can I write a book? No, Mom, it's not the right time for it. Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, she plans everything. Oh, they've helped so much with my 1-year-old. I don't see myself as helping people with a 1-year-old very much, but thanks for that. Probably just with the tantrums, right? There's not much you can do with a 1-year-old is what I'm saying. Yeah, they're almost kind of feral at that point because they don't soak up a lot of information yet. They're watching you though. My kids, the reason I knew that they were sort of understanding that there was a leader, I was the leader, my ex-husband was the pleaser. And that's often, my mom was the leader, my dad was the pleaser. It's often the way it is. As long as you're on the same page, it works beautifully, right? He didn't want to discipline. He didn't know how to do it. I had lots of experience with kids. Anyway, but the reason I knew it was kind of working was when they first started defiant stuff, like rolling on the change table when we were trying to change them. They didn't do it hardly ever with me. I'd say, I'm changing your nappy. And I'd go like that, put my arm across their and change them. And they wouldn't even fight me. Whereas their dad, they would start rolling and he'd say, okay, if I let you down, you pick up a toy. And I'm like, oh, geez. So yeah, they are watching, they are learning, but it's a slow burn, okay? You might not see the results for a while yet, but they are learning. They are listening. They're not listening. They're watching you. Do you know, I've always said kids don't listen to you. They're watching you. And there's this guy, they just did some huge study at Harvard, or I don't know where it was. Anyway, the scientists said that they've now found out, they always keep changing, but anyway, now they've decided that your personality is formed in the first 7 years, like your identity is formed in the first 7 years. And it's all done through observation. They're watching everything, not listening. They're watching. So that's why I call my parenting as leadership parenting, because I was accountable. If I made a mistake, believe me, my kids loved it. They were very quick to say, Mom, didn't you forget to do what you said you were going to do? And I go, oh, darn it. What do you want? We'd love to go to the water slide park tomorrow. So I was very accountable, and that made them accountable. Okay. Because they're watching you. How can you tell a child to behave if you don't? How can you tell a child to be accountable if you're not? It doesn't make any sense. To me, that's just patronizing and unfair. It's unfair. My son was 15, and he said to me, he was kind of mad. And he said to me, you've been a difficult mother. And I thought, what? I thought it was wonderful. We were close and everything. So he said, yeah, he says, and he wanted to rebel, obviously. And he goes, I could never rebel because you're too reasonable and easy to talk to. And I thought, ooh, do I apologize or celebrate here? So I think I apologized to his face, and then I went in the other room and kicked my heels together and celebrated. So, yeah. Someone asked me something, you're not going to like my answer. Can you talk about step parenting? No, because I can't give you any advice unless I know the situation. Every family's different. I don't know how involved you are, how involved the natural parent wants you to be in parenting. What kind of role do you want to play? Friend, parent? I don't know. So there's no standard answer for that at all. At all. Okay, actually, I have to get going. I got to get somewhere. Oh, what time is it? Yeah, I got to go. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go in the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old, or you can look into coaching. I have a wait list for coaching these days because I'm really busy, but I like to mix up the ages, so I never know when I'm going to do that. So you might get in right away. Anyway, I got to go. Thanks so much for watching, and happy parenting. Bye now.